Hello. So,
Hello.
so Buel, is that how I say your name?
Yeah,
Buel?
Buell is.
Okay, great. So I just want to tell everybody what this is.
Hmm.
This is Fan Electric Ghost, and I'm an indie producer and artist podcast. I've been doing it for the last 2 years. Previously, we were on an app called Spearman,
Hmm.
and we interview indie artists from around the world. And today we're going to be talking to Buell, and
Yeah.
so that's our focus today. And we're going to talk about your music and your process. And so, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, so I think I sent you the interview questions, and we can run down that.
Yeah, I was going through them right now, actually.
And also, I do have your song "Bad Poetry" that I
Yeah.
could actually play if you want, and we can also add the Spotify version as a segment to this podcast when we publish it.
Yeah.
So that's what this podcast allows us to do.
Hmm.
Um, and so, but we can actually play it live. This isn't live, but it will be pushed out after we do the call. But it would be embedded in the podcast because sometimes when it gets published, some platforms don't allow you to play the Spotify song. So if people want to hear it, the embedded version would let people hear bad poetry. If that's
Okay.
if that's okay.
Um. Well, yeah, sure. If you're able to do that,
Yeah,
then. Uh
we'll
huh.
do that at some point. We won't do it right now, but um,
Okay.
so if I get to the first question, um, like when did you first get into music and at what age?
Well, it's like if it's about like when I started to sing. Actually, it was like really early, as early as I was like 4 years old, I guess, trying to sing more like. But the first time I started to perform was when I was 12 years old, actually, um, in a school band. We had our first performance, so that's how my whole adventure started.
So did you originally, write your own music? Was that a goal? Because some people, when they get into music, they don't take the step of writing their own material. They'll sing other people's material, or they'll be part of not take on that as a singer songwriter. So you're a singer songwriter, right?
Yeah.
So
Um, Yeah, for me, it was like always, it sounded really fun to be able to make up your own melodies and sing whatever you want to sing. Because when you're singing other people's song, I mean, even if you're covering them, you have to like imitate to some extent. And it was a little stressful for me always, because I always think that like whoever writes the song, whoever is the original singer of the song, it has the right emotion um,
mhm.
correlated with the song. So I was like always super into writing my own melodies, but I didn't have the instrument or I didn't know how to begin. So until I was 15, I was always just, having those melodies in my head, but I didn't know how to turn them into a song. And when I was 15, I got my first guitar, and it just happened really quickly. I learned a couple of chords, wasn't really into becoming a guitar player, but just putting some chords together and, you know, having the bass to be able to write the vocal melodies was just really, it was the best thing I've ever discovered, I guess.
So is a guitar and bass like those are those type of string instruments? Those are your
Yeah.
primary instruments, or do you
Yeah,
play
I
with
don't play bass, but I actually started playing piano when I was 12 years old, but
Oh, good.
I took like a piano course um, for like 3 months or something, but I kind of didn't like um, learning how to read notes. It was a little too
Hmm.
disciplined for me. So I stopped doing that, but I still kind of like playing piano by the ear.
Yeah.
Um, but actually playing guitar kind of made me feel like I found my like own element. I was where I needed to be, like to
So,
write songs.
so guitar is your primary instrument. You feel most
Y-
comfortable with that.
yeah.
Do you find that a keyboard helps with songwriting though? Like even if you don't know how to read the notes, if you're writing, what I find is like I'm a keyboardist,
Oh.
what I find is the keyboard allows you to kind of write the whole song once you learn that skill.
Hmm.
With a lot of the, I'm an electronic musician, and with all the tools you have today, if you use a keyboard, you can pretty much you can write the bass part,
do
you
anything.
can write everything.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
if I knew that the situation was going to be this today, I probably would focus more on keyboard. But at that time, whenever I played like a chord, it was giving me a variety of melodies other than the chord that I was actually playing. Like it always helped me hear the other variety of like melodies that I can come up with for the vocals. So that was like easier for me because when I'm playing piano, it doesn't necessarily give me like an option for the vocal melodies. You actually like sit and try to like find the melody that goes well with the keyboard.
Well, I think there's a big tradition, in folk music and popular music. If you go back to,
Yeah.
to the '70s, like a James Taylor,
Yeah.
Bob Dylan,
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen. The guitar lends itself, just an acoustic guitar, to being able to create your demo, and sometimes it becomes
Exactly. You're
the,
done.
the
Like,
whole
yeah.
song. You can do the
Yeah.
whole song,
Yeah, that's perfect.
And it has the ability to do rhythm. I mean, a guitar has the ability, at least the acoustic guitar has a lot of capability in creating like beats. You can create beats with the
Exactly.
guitar.
Yeah. Like you know how the beat should be when once you play the song on the guitar. So it's yeah, it was like a good way for me to like start and find my own vibe. When I first started playing, I was like, should I make something that's similar to what's already around? Because is it is it like a way to make my music a more like valid if it sounds more like the other songs?
So you
But it
started
was like really limiting actually because I don't know, everybody has like different type of qualities for their own genre or whatever their sound is, like their vocals, voice, or the melodies they're hearing in their head. So it didn't really help me at that time. So I just decided to do whatever I want to do instead of like trying to sit and imitate other
other artists. So when you
yeah.
started, were you trying to like use reference points from other artists? Were you trying to be like, it was any particular artist you were thinking you wanted to be like when you first
Well,
started?
I was like when I was 12 and I first got involved in my first band. Um, our guitar player was a female guitar player. Said, "Do you know the band Nirvana?" And I was like, "No." She was like, "If you don't know who Nirvana is, you don't know music." So I was like, "Really? Okay." So I started to listen to Nirvana, and I was like, at first, I wasn't really a rock like I wasn't really interested in like rock at that time. I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And that story begins like that, I guess. Like then I couldn't stop listening to Nirvana for like 15 years. I'm like, oh my god, like if you don't know Nirvana, then you don't know music.
Well, Nirvana
So,
was such a big revelation because they brought back the
yeah.
punk, because like for Nirvana is really a punk rock band.
It gives you a lot of freedom, actually.
Yeah.
Like it makes you feel like you don't have to know or you don't have to act like anything to become a musician or to become someone who's
that was the original intent of, like, you go back to the Sex Pistols and the original Clash and a lot of the original punk rock, right? It was the fact that people had ideas but they didn't have to be virtuosos, and so that they could have honest feelings. The Clash initially, they became really good musicians. They became like really awesome. But when they first started, they were kind of basic. And then the Sex Pistols was very basic. And you get bands like Huskadoo and the Replacements to start to show some musicianship within that genre. But I think the freedom of Nirvana is like it allows you. Grunge was a different category. It allowed you to go like the Beatles. You could try to be like the Beatles. You could be punk. You could do acoustic. You could do whatever you want. And I think that was the freedom, and a lot of people were very
found themselves in
because he had the big hair rock bands like the Van Halens and the Megadeth.
And you know that you can't live like that, right? Like,
well, it's all fantasy.
Because you had a reality.
Yeah, it's all fantasy. These big rock stars, and they have this image, and it's not reality. David Lee Roth and all these they're bigger than life. And then like a punk is more like attainable. He's like the average kid could say, well, I could maybe do that.
Yeah.
But I probably can't be David Lee Roth,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
So yeah, it was like a good way to go with like meeting Nirvana at that time, like listening to their songs was like, oh my God, like I don't have to put myself in a box. Like I can just be anything and convince people that I'm a good musician because I just want it and I feel it and I just, have the confidence that what I do is coming from heart.
So when
And
you
that's all that matters.
so when you write, does it just like some people just feel like they have the muse? It just comes within them. So when you write a song, does it come easy to you, or do you really have to work at it? I've talked to songwriters, and some of them are like, it comes like I don't have to worry about it; it just comes. And some people are like really tortured and they really work hard. So is there a middle ground?
I mean, it actually is, I think, about what you're expecting from that song at that moment. Like, um, if you just want to go with it, like, it doesn't have to take that long. You can just, for me, I mean, so there's times that I just sit and write just like in 5 minutes, like the vocal melodies are done and 3, 4 chords done.
Mm-hmm.
But there's times that I'm like, I want to write like specifically about this subject and I need a thought process before I can, you know, I'm able to like sit and write actually. So
So
it
does
all
the
depends.
yeah? So does the music, like, does the actual melody of the guitar parts come before the lyrics, or does the lyric come before the
It
guitar part?
usually is like it comes with guitar parts first because then you have a hard time trying to fit your lyrics into the melody, like guitar melody. Then it's like it sounds a little bit more fake than the other version because like once you come up with the chorus, sorry, chords, then you're like, okay, I have this much length of space for me to be able to express my feelings. So you start to limit yourself, and it kind of gives you like a direction. Um,
Do you find that you do like a stream of consciousness style of initial lyrics? That like you'll have your guitar like
I do
chords, or do you just kind of freeform it and then refine it, or do you have like a
it all. I don't think I have like a certain type of writing style. It all depends on the moment. Like I don't want to put myself in a box again. Like I don't want to be like this is how I write because
okay?
you have like variety of emotions going on in your life. One day doesn't match the other day. So I don't expect myself to, you know, be able to create the same stuff that I or the same in the same way like I did, a couple of months ago. It's going to be different, and
Yeah,
you're learning and you're
yeah.
seeing, so it changes.
Well, that's why it's kind of like what the way I write. I do a kind of stream of consciousness, kind of like Dylan-esque. Like you put down some melodies
Uh huh.
on the keyboard, and then you kind of just. My first love is poetry, so I have all kinds of poetry I've written.
Oh.
I have all this stuff I've written, but I don't necessarily. I'll merge things. So if I come
Okay.
up and I write something, I'll have all this stuff that I've been throwing in my head, and then if I come up with like a chord arrangement or a
Mm-hmm.
sequence, it's kind of like whatever I'm feeling that day. Because if I'm
They
feeling
match. Yeah.
down or I'm feeling excited or I'm angry or whatever, it comes out in what I'm doing. And then as a songwriter, sometimes you just take those reference points from your life and
Yeah.
you bring them in. And you can't really predict what it's going to be. I mean, I go into a recording session, I have no idea what I'm really going to do. And it just
Mm-hmm.
comes out. And then later I'll refine it. And then I start to really know what I'm doing. But it's initially it's kind of like a catharsis. I kind of use it to. It's like I have to do it. I feel like I have to.
Really.
I feel like I have to write. It just comes out. That's just my style. But
Hmm.
I've talked to other people and they say it's somewhat like that. But you never know. Everybody has their own style.
Yeah, it's probably better to have your own way of writing because if I try your way, probably won't work for me because you can't push yourself to write or create something. It just needs to come. And if it doesn't, if it comes, like half of it comes that day, you might have to wait for 3 more weeks to finish it. If it's not like a project like that's expected to be finished by a third party. If it's like your own pleasure. Um, yeah. So I'm trying to like make myself feel as free as possible when it comes to writing.
Do you have a
Um,
particular like place that you write, or because you have like, do you have like an acoustic guitar or electric guitar? Do you have to be in a certain space to be able
hmm.
to write?
um, I don't, because it would be really limiting if I did had it. Because sometimes, even when I'm like walking on the, like if I'm taking a bus, let's say, I'm like, oh my god, it just came right now, so I'm gonna act like I'm talking on the phone and record this with my phone. It
Yeah,
might
of course.
come anywhere. um I don't need a particular place probably to come up with, but I'll
That's
put
interesting.
electric and acoustic. Yeah.
Because somebody like you talk to some bands and they have to be in their practice area or they have to be in their studio to actually put stuff down. But the idea is like you say they could come to you anywhere, but
Yeah,
to be able to physically play, sometimes they have to go to that space. And if you have that space in your home, then you can do it whenever you want. If you have
it's
that space,
probably like classical conditioning. Like anytime I come to the studio, I want to write something. No, it doesn't happen to me.
yeah, yeah,
Because I don't have like a certain studio that I hang out at all the time. I,
mhm.
work with different producers. I collaborate with different people, so it always is a different location. So if I limited myself, it would be really challenging for me. Like, oh no, I can't collaborate with you right here. I have to go back to where I belong
Yeah,
and
that's cool.
write and come back. Yeah.
So it's like so you said Nirvana was an influence. Do you have
For my earliest probably, and then the Beatles is
okay?
probably one of the biggest ones because my parents would like most of the times play their songs at home,
Hmm.
so I kind of like grew up there with their songs, and then the Bee Gees is, has like a huge impact on how I perceive like harmonies and like
Wow.
the way they sing, the melodies that they come up with. It's just like when I listen to their songs, it reminds me of such a long period of my life, like from my childhood, that I can guess that they have a huge influence in how I create. And even though, like, when you listen to my songs, you wouldn't say, "Oh, Bee Gees," but it still
No.
has this like emotional impact.
Well, the
Um,
Bee Gees and the Beatles are just classic songwriters. They
exactly.
they had really good sense of melody. They
Yeah.
were very adventurous. If you go to the original Bee Gees, some
Yeah.
like the Fab Four to like the Beatles, and
Yeah.
then they break out into the creating disco and
Hmm.
and and the falsetto and stuff that they're doing there is very powerful. It's very
I know. Yeah.
there's a
That's like
lot.
my reference point. I don't like putting myself into a situation where I only should write in a certain style.
Yeah.
That's why it's kind of like good to like those type of musicians that make you feel good about yourself because you're not writing in the same style. Like,
Well, I think a lot of musicians, you can have a lot of reference points, and doesn't mean you have to be the Beatles or be the Bee Gees
exactly.
or be Nirvana. But you take reference points for multiple things. If you look at hip hop, hip hop is a big hodgepodge of multiple genres,
Yeah.
and it pulls from jazz, rock,
True.
funk, everything. And so
Hmm.
the more you listen to as a musician, if you listen to Coltrane or you listen to the Beatles, you listen to Hendrix, or you listen to different things, your country music, it gives you more capability, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. You need to know like variety of music so that you can actually be free to come up with your own child.
Yeah, and
Like,
that's where you get your unique spin on something. Your unique music comes from how you interpret those things, and then everything in music. There's certain things that are blues is always kind of restrictive. Progressive music can
yeah.
be somewhat restrictive in its complexity, and so there's certain things that that you get pigeonholed into, and then you can't get out of it. I always like the musicians to like to be genre bending, you know,
Hmm.
like Prince and Miles Davis. But
Yeah.
people try to push it. Coltrane. They didn't just want to stay within a certain format. They try to break the format and create something new.
Yeah.
That's always
Definitely.
been. And I hear that in your music. You have a lot of. I hear a lot of reference points in your music, and and
Yeah.
and I like the fact that a lot of times today you have a lot of music that's very mechanical, very much done on the dot. Nothing wrong with it, but like bad poetry has like
Was
a live band feel.
very organic, yeah.
Yeah, and I like that because I'm a child of the '70s. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I would listen to all my brothers. You know, Hendrix. You know, people who actually went to the studio and they put
Yeah.
down. They played every track. They didn't do it on computer. They didn't cut and paste it. Not that that isn't amazing. You can get bands like Public Enemy and other bands that create amazing hip hop stuff, and it's not played with live stuff instruments. But I'm kind of a person that likes to hear live organic music,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that. Like in bad poetry, maybe we'll play that so people can kind of hear what we're talking
Yeah.
about. So what I can do is I can play bad poetry, and then we can talk about it in detail if you want to.
Awesome. Yeah.
So we're gonna play that. So just go on mute. Don't shut off the phone. Just hit mute.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you when to come back, and we'll talk about it.
All right.
Let's get high and let's get low. I'll climb the stars and touch the moon. It don't matter how hard we try. In the end, we got poetry. We'll get high and low. Mountains will smoke the earth. We'll get high and low. In the end, we got poetry. Let's get high, let's get low. I'll climb the stars and touch the moon. It don't matter how hard we try. In the end, we got poetry. We'll get high and low. Mountains will smoke the earth. We'll get high and low. In the end, we got poetry. In the end, we got poetry. In the end, we got poetry.
So that's Buel and bad poetry. And so you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really great song, and I can kind of hear the influences of like the Beatles, and maybe the old school.
Sergeant and Pepper, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, because like there's some really cool stuff going on. I'm not sure if some of that's like a guitar slide or using a synth to do some of that kind of.
We have a lot of electric violin.
Yeah, it sounds like like kind of
That
like
sounds like a guitar, actually. Yeah.
yeah, but it could be like if you listen to Dylan during his
Mm-hmm.
period when he was with the band and they were doing these really like heavy electric um, albums during the late 70s.
Mm-hmm.
They would do they had like a violinist that went out on stage and played a bunch of shows that had that kind of feel, and it really sounds like the old school singer songwriting that I love from that period. So I love this song.
Thank you.
So this is for 2018. Looking at your Spotify, is this coming from an album or is this a single only?
This was actually a collaboration that we did with Ty Longley. He's a producer. So it's not actually a part of an album, but it's just a single.
Yeah, I did see that. So that's the producer?
Yes. He also produced it and co-wrote it.
So did you just work with him directly, or did you work with a band? Did he provide the band? Did you ever, get in a studio with the musicians that are on this, or did?
Yeah, we actually just sat and wrote the song. He's a bass player. In the meantime, we just wrote the song with the bass at first. It was only vocals and the bass, and it was very slow. Like it wasn't like a pop song at all. And then all of a sudden one day I just woke up and I said, hey, let's actually turn this song into a pop song. I think it would be really fun because I haven't really heard a song that has this type of lyrics and this type of a vibe being a pop song. I thought that it would be interesting. And Ty said, let's produce it here. And I know some pretty good musicians who can maybe come here and play for us. And we just played the song to the violinist and the piano player and guitar players. And they just came up with their own, like they interpreted the song in the way they wanted to. And they just sat and, wrote their parts, played their parts. They were all friends with Ty. They always worked together in a studio for his other projects.
So when you said here, where was here?
Sorry?
When you said here, where was this recorded?
Oh, it was Bell Sound Studio.
Okay, cool.
It's on Hollywood.
So
he has a pretty nice studio.
So did the drummer come up with the drum beat, or did you have a specific beat?
Well, we actually had a beat, but we kind of directed him, but we also didn't want to limit him because he's like pretty good. He's Donald Barrett. He's like a pretty good drum player, drummer. So we just said we want this vibe, but if you come up with like a better sounding, your own style, like beats, you're more than welcome. And he came up with this beat.
So when the initial demo you said was in a different time signature, it wasn't a pop song. So did you have drums on the original? Or was this bass and you're singing?
It was actually only bass and vocals. Then when we were just trying to come up with the arrangement that possibly would be the right fit for the song, we came up with a beat just on the computer, like on the program.
Okay. And
then the drummer came and played a better beat himself, so we didn't need it anymore.
That's awesome. So when you're talking about like the computer, you use like a digital audio workstation?
Yeah, it was just one of those,
or like
I think it was Cubase, if I'm not
Cubase.
But
okay. Yeah, there's all different ones. Everybody uses their own, FL Studio. There's all these different ones. But
and then, we just.
But you had traditional artists actually playing instruments that were friends of Ty, right? They were musicians that he knew, and they did the live tracking of it in the studio. Hello? Did we lose you? Are you still there? Oh no. We might have to come in and do a second episode, so hold a second. This is Van Electric Ghost, and we're pushing our brand new record, Dark Ghost Volume 1, which is going to be on Diggers Factory Records. And so if you go to https://www.diggersfactory.com/vinyl/226598, you can get our brand new album on pre-order. Comes out in April. We have 196 copies out of 200 left. It's $24 plus shipping and handling. It's a 2 vinyl album. It is our statement on electronica, experimental music, and progressive trance. It is mastered for vinyl, and it's our first vinyl record. It's part of the Dark Ghost series of records. So again, it's www.diggersfactory, that's DIGGERS factory, all one word, .com/vinyl/226598. And we'd appreciate your order, and we'll be very happy that you're checking out our music, and we'll be very supportive of you as a fan, because we'll give you some cool goodies if you sign up. So please check it out. It's www.diggersfactory.com/vinyl/226598. Thank you. Hey,
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I do. Do you?
Yeah, I can hear you. So,
Perfect. Sorry, my phone fainted from temperature, so.
Okay, your battery life is good though, right?
Put it in the fridge, so should be fine.
Okay, so I think we were talking about like your recording process.
Yeah.
And you had said the drummer had come up with the beat. You originally had done it on the computer, like you'd done it on a DAW.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's cool. It's like the whole process of how a song can change. You know, there's a lot of history.
It was a great experience. Yeah.
Has that happened before, where you had a song that was in one kind of time signature, it had a vibe, and then suddenly it kind of shifted to a different vibe?
Of course, it always happens, but sometimes it's out of your control. Like you work with a producer, you bring the song in an acoustic version, and then all of a sudden they turn it into whatever they felt like
what they thought it should be.
Yeah, it's not always like this, ending up being this cool to me. But this one, we were kind of like open because it was a collaboration. So we were open to make something interesting or whatever people felt like it, like the musicians who were involved in it felt like the sound should be. So we were more free. So I kind of liked the way it turned out.
So the different types of like music, you say you like to do all different types of genres. So could you describe the different genres or different types of music that you've actually, worked on?
Yeah. In high school, in my bands, actually in college too, it was more like punk rock bands. We were mostly playing my songs that we cover in the band as a full band, because I was writing the songs with the acoustic guitar, and then we were arranging them in a pop punk style, and then it kind of turned into an acoustic pop in like 4 years ago or something. And then right now I also started to produce and I would say like indie pop, still acoustic, but a little bit more like Bad Poetry was a collaboration, so it doesn't really the individual sound that I'm going for or Ty goes for necessarily. It's like like its name, it's like collaboration, but the songs that I'm working by myself are mostly like independent pop style.
Indie pop type of songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you were going to say the kind of indie pop that you're going for, what other bands are in that kind of category that you might sound like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wouldn't probably like name one that I'm exactly trying to go for, but nowadays, like at least for 2 years, 3 years, I've been really into Cigarettes After Sex. Their sound is something that I'm really into because they have those like reverbed guitars and vocals that gives you like an ethereal
Yeah.
feeling. Um, Also, probably like Sia, Banks. Those artists are the ones that I really like. I'm really into.
So you kind of like an ethereal kind of soundscape type of
Yeah.
guitars. Sounds
Mm-hmm. I do like that.
kind of like
Yeah.
sound.
I do like having guitars. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like Brian Eno used to do a lot of that. He was really into making atmospheric guitar sounds back in the
Mm-hmm.
day. But yeah, so it's so as we get back into some of the stuff. So are you doing live shows and gigs where people could see you that you might want to like let people know?
Yeah. Actually, the thing is, like, I've been performing live for a long time. Like, since I moved to LA, from Dayton, Ohio. For 2 years, I've been performing a lot, but for the last 5 months, I kind of stopped playing because I'm working on my EP right
Okay,
now,
so you're on recording
and I
mode.
want to be able to finish, yeah, the songs before I start performing and start promoting my album. But my first show is probably going to be scheduled in September. So if people, follow me from my social media accounts like Instagram or Facebook page, I can let them know.
Yeah,
I can keep them
we
updated.
can update this podcast at any time and add
Mm-hmm.
like links and stuff to it. So if you
Sure.
start having new material, what we do like to do is have people come on and promote their material. Um, we've been talking to different artists, and as they get records out, we like to push their singles, we like to push their albums. So we like
Mm-hmm.
to talk to
Thanks.
artists again. And part of the reason we do this, just to kind of give a background, is that there are people on the net that will ask indie artists to like pay for interviews. And since I'm an indie artist and I'm a fan of music and a musician myself, I felt like if you're,
It's
yeah,
really tough.
if you're into music and you love music, I like to
Yeah,
just talk to other artists and like,
exactly. That's a little cruel to make them pay for
and
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think I don't want to name people. People kind of guess who I might be talking about, but there are certain people out there that have these package deals, and they tell you, oh, they're going to do this and do that. And I just kind of got turned off, and I say, you know what? I love music. I'm a child of the '70s. I kind of feel that if you're really into it, you should push it out. And I had the opportunity a couple of years ago on a different app called Fairman, where they
Mm-hmm.
reached out to me because of my SoundCloud presence, because I have a fan base that likes what I'm doing,
Okay.
and they said, "Hey, do you
Mm-hmm.
want to come on Spearman and do these interviews?" That was one of the first podcast apps, and they've kind of gone into a different direction. But this podcast app is still out there, and I kind of converted over a couple months ago, and I just feel like you should talk to as many artists as possible and give them a
Yeah.
platform, because if you love music, you want to have artists be out there and be heard, and have people understand like what
Who doesn't have major support?
yeah
Yeah.
what it is to be a musician, what it's about. And what I like to do is get into like your reference points, like why you do what you do, like the things I'm interested in. When I used to read Rolling Stone, Spin Magazine, when I want to read about an artist, like why did they do that? Where were they coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And I just do it because I love it, and I just push it forward. And I keep on getting interviewed with all kinds of people all over the world, and it's really cool. I think
Yeah, that's a great mission.
yeah, it's just something
Congratulations
that
for.
you want to do. But so like you collaborated, which one of the questions was like, what do you feel about collaboration? So you said you've collaborated with other artists, other than Ty Long Lee. You talk
Yeah.
about maybe about some other collaborations.
Yeah. I recently also collaborated with Robin Lemisser, who's the former songwriter and guitar player of Rod Stewart. So we met and became friends and just decided to sit and write a song. And then it went on like that. We just couldn't stop. So we wrote like 5 songs together. So probably like very soon we will start putting those songs out on Spotify. It's like more like 70s pop.
Awesome.
Kind of a music style with like more current vocal melodies. So I think it's a great
Is that a different project
mix.
than the other project you're working on, or is that the new project?
This is like a project that I've been working on for the last couple of months. So we'll be releasing our collaborations very soon with Robin, and I also am working on my own EP, which I'm planning to release probably during this year.
Oh, so that
2018.
So the Rod Stewart Productions, that one's they're going to be separate singles, not going to be EP.
The collaborations are going to be separate from my EP because I kind of went too further away from my own sound with collaborations, which is the good side of it because you don't have to have concerns like I have to make it in a certain way. I have to put it in the same, EP. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to be a part of my individual project, but they're going to be like separate singles.
That's awesome. So is everything still kind of in the vein of like organic sounding, like what Bad Poetry sounds like, or does it go toward like indie pop like sound, or
collaborations are still going in that path, but my songs are a little bit more electronic than the collaborations because even though I like organic, I also like being free to discover your own. I think it's like a huge, like endless sea where you can come up with variety of sounds that you can never maybe play live or, play like organically. So for like it is a good way to.
So sorry, but for electronic, this can kind of perk my interest. Is it EDM or synth wave or what type of electronic?
Synths.
So synth.
Yeah, mostly synths and beats.
So is it like Eurorack, analog synth, or digital synth? I can get really crazy.
Digital. It's not analog. Yeah.
So it's like digital within using like a DAW or using real hardware synths, like roll.
Not hardware synths, no.
Doing soft synths on it.
Maybe, but it might change in the future. I don't know. It depends on the producers that I'm working with. For my when I produce myself, it's usually not analog, not really like hard, like real synth sounds, but more like a programmed.
But the programs today are very powerful, and they can simulate things.
Yeah.
But I'm an electronic artist, so I'm a big purveyor of analog, modular, Eurorack, actually like hardware, actually playing a synth, like playing a Jupiter, playing a Moog, Moog, Model D, or playing like a Hammond organ, because that's where I come from. Is like trying to play like Yes or Genesis or progressive rock. Having the skill set to do that. And today,
I think I haven't found the middle yet, like either live or totally programmed.
Well, a lot of times today, it's like hard to get clubs to want to see a band bringing in the amount of synths that you have to do, to support that.
Yeah.
Because my problem when I play a gig, like in New York City, I got road cases. I just don't have like a DJ platform and just like a computer. I got Moogs and stuff that have to go up on stage and get taken up and taken down. So I'm actually like a real band.
Yeah, you need like a more practical system.
Yeah, so if you play clubs and stuff, sometimes they don't want to have the overhead. If they want to turn around a bunch of people, you can't have like a band, like a 1970s band. You can't have that presence. Though I've been able to get to places that do want to see that, and so I play shows where they let me, do my sound check and do all that. It's a different type of thing to do that, but yeah, I understand like having a smaller footprint. I've been working on that, but I just like playing the real synths. So
yeah, I mean, it all depends on the opportunities for that moment that you're working in. So I'm not like against that or
Well, there's a big resurgence in a lot of the old synth technology that a lot of the companies that went out of business are back. Like Moog was out of business and they're back. Prophet was out of business, they're back. These are all the core synths from the 90s, from the 80s and 90s, like the new wave and the new romantic.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of opportunities now. There's a lot of these bands, you know, if you see at churches and stuff, they play real synths, you know, and they're on stage with that synth wave, synth pop, using real Moogs and Prophets. And there's something about that. If you do that, that goes back to that time period.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like,
Nostalgia.
I'm
Yeah.
from that time period. So, you know, that's what I like. And so to see a resurgence in that, there is a lot of synth wave that actually does use those real synths.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool that you're very wide in your capabilities, that you go from doing, like, you know, organic recording to doing a recording like that, you know, the more soft synth that shows a big range. And so what are your thoughts of, like, actually collaborate with, like, rap or DJ artists? Have you thought about done that or working toward that?
Well, I've done that before, and it totally is a whole different story. But it still is really fun, and I never feel like it's something that isn't a part of me or whatever. It's just like still music. It's still something that I love doing. It just is a whole different story, yeah. But I'm open, yeah.
I guess it's like where you are, like,
discriminate me
as a musician. Like I feel like I like rap, I like hip hop. I see a reason to, you know, I actually played shows with hip hop artists, and I've collaborated with some DJs, like where I am in New Hampshire. New Hampshire DJs are not like New York DJs. But
okay.
Yeah, it's just like whatever you feel, and all genres are valid. You know, there's all different types of music, and like people who are purists and say, "Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that." I'm kind of not a person that likes to hear like what you can't do. I like to, you know, hear about what you can do.
Yeah, that's why you're in this. Like,
yeah.
That's why you're trying to be a musician. So
yeah, so anything that can push the genres forward is like, I don't have a problem mixing country with hip hop or jazz or like psychedelic rock. You know, you try things out. Like whether it works or not, that's part of the whole process. Like, you know, not everything's going to be a top 10 hit, but if you're trying something and you're trying to go forward, I think that's always cool.
Yeah, I agree.
So what do you think about, like, the way things are going on today with the marketing of music with vinyl and streaming, and what are your opinions about the way, you know, musicians get compensated today through, like, the streaming services and things like that? Do you have opinions on that?
It really is a very strange time to live in, because it like you should not only be a musician and artist, but also become a marketing person, because you have to know your audience. Like, that's what they tell you to do, because if you know who might like your music or might like your language, like if you can find people who speak your language, let's say, speak your thought process or understand it, it'll be a lot faster for you to become successful. But it's really hard for an artist to be aware of their limits or the targets or blah blah. These are like a different language, like a business part of it. But you have to be aware of it, and you have to become a marketing person who is able to show their music to the right audience. So it's really harsh at that part. But in the meantime, it's cool because you don't anymore need people who are in certain positions to like your music and then give you the opportunity to show it to more gradual audiences. All you need to do is to draw a path for yourself, and then have a strategy and follow your own whatever it is, marketing or whatever strategy.
So do you find, like, the social media platforms like Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, that as, like, the marketing strategy is to get it to those fans on those type of platforms, because you can get out there without having to go through a gate? like in the old record industry, you had to go through A&R, you had to go
Yeah.
through a whole structure, and if they didn't pick you, you're not even going to get out the gate. Where now
Yeah.
you could do a YouTube video, get it out there, you could get like hundreds of thousands to millions of hits outside the
Yeah.
structure of the recording industry.
It's not like a talent show anymore. It's not like there's a jury, like they're judging your talent, saying you're not talented. Oh, you're good. Your voice is good. It doesn't matter anymore. Like it matters to some extent, but if you find the right people who might find just a little emotion in your music, they love it, and then they start promoting it to their friends. That's how it goes. So social media kind of like helps you go in that direction and become your own boss instead of, obeying that like bigger people's rules or whatever. But I mean, yeah, it all depends on what you're expecting. Like if you want to be heard by different audiences than other than what you could achieve, like, oh, my music is going to be loved by people who love cigarettes after sex. That's like a very limited, maybe, let's say, audience, but you might not be able to see further than that. So you still need some people to, direct you, but it gives you a huge freedom and opportunity to actually become whatever you want to become with your own strategies.
So when you market, like a part of your marketing to have like physical merch, like CDs and vinyl, when you do live shows, do you do stuff like that, or do you do everything like with the street?
Well, recently there's a vinyl production company who reached out and said, hey, would you want a vinyl recording of bad poetry? For a second I thought, and I'm like, I don't have many singles out at the moment, and trying to sell something physical for an expensive price doesn't really sound, I don't know, right to me, because the point right now is not to try to make money, but to get your music to the right audience and then build that audience to expect more music from you. So at this point, I'm not trying to get as much money as possible from whatever people, but just try to reach them and
sometimes
see what they think.
Sometimes the physical works. Like if you get on a road schedule and you're really heavy touring, then having vinyl or having a CD, physical CD, is a good. You can make cash where you're playing.
I think it's more like a burden. I don't know.
It's a burden to you.
I feel like, because Spotify, iTunes is already, offering you whatever you need.
Yeah.
Like having physical is like a luxury for an artist.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, it might, help you make some extra cash. But in the meantime, I feel like it's a little bit
it's a lot more
too much of a burden.
Yeah, it's a lot of overhead to have to manage that.
Yeah.
When everybody can just do stuff on their phone.
Exactly. Like everybody has smartphones or internet somewhere.
But I
so
found
just look up for,
like in New York City, if you play a club as a small indie band and you do have a physical CD, you can make some decent money doing that. But if that's not the point, then you don't have to. But some fans like to have that. It depends on what you're into, what your fan base is. Like I do like albums, and so I have a lot of theme-based music that has like concepts, and so some of my fans do want to see something like that. It really depends on what your fan base is.
Well, you can still stick to that, like stick to the album theme and listen to the songs through Spotify or YouTube playlists. Like you can still do that, I think.
Yeah, you can, but there are some fans that actually physically like vinyl.
Yeah, if it comes to that point, you're probably at the point where you can, it's not going to be a burden on you. Like, you can have that, like you can have that extra thing, but.
Yeah, it just depends on where you are, what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't want the overhead of managing it, then
it's
like it's an extra level of stuff you have to worry about, and if you don't want to worry about it, you don't have to. It's just that in today's market depends on what you're trying to do with your fan base and what they're looking for. But it's just options out there that I've seen. And
it requires you to like know people better. I feel like analyze people better, like what they need. Like people who like this music would they like your music as well? Like you need to be able to answer this question, which is like a little challenging.
Yeah, you have to know what your fan base is into and what they want to do and what they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you do show up like, you know, at certain venues in a consistent way, like in New York City, like I'll go to certain places where that's what that venue kind of does. People sell T-shirts or they sell whatever, and a lot of the bands that play those places, that's what people are looking for. And
Mm-hmm.
so it really depends on what kind of clubs you're playing, how often you play them, and you know, if you just start getting a base of fans that are looking for that, then that's kind of where you go. If you don't have that and everybody's just on their phone, it's probably a different environment. Maybe
Yeah.
like, you know, like New York compared to LA might be different. What's going on? So I'm just saying that, like, from what I've seen in New York City, it's a little.
There might be more bands in LA. I don't know. So there might be a less chance for you to be able to, sell your physical CDs or
Yeah,
merchandise
yeah.
in
You guys
LA.
have so many groups, and maybe people don't want to have all that. You know,
Yeah.
New York is big, and there's a lot of bands, but not like LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so it's a different scene, so it's a different thing going on. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but that's cool. So like, what are your goals for like the next 6 months to a year as a musician? Where do you see yourself going?
Um, I think I want to become a better producer and means like I don't mean in a technical way, of course technically too, but to be able to reflect your thoughts and the sound that you hear in your head to the physical version, like to be able to produce what you actually have in your mind. It's the skill set. Like I kind of want to get better at that
Mm-hmm.
so that I can communicate better. Um, and I want to. I'm planning to release my EP in the next couple of months and start promotions and touring. Um,
So when you tour, are
that's
you just touring like California, or are you gonna go way beyond that?
well, I'm gonna go beyond that probably because I feel like um, being in LA kind of limits you to give Los Angeles people what they need, but I'm not like 100% interested in that. But I'm also, because I lived in Ohio for a long time, and I remember them being like expecting more different, like their expectations and LA people's expectations, Austin people's
Yeah,
expectations, Miami people's,
yeah,
they're all
different.
different. And I don't want to, just because I live in LA, I don't want to limit myself. Like,
So
I
you,
need to
so
do
you
this in
want
LA.
it to be more varied, so that you don't
Yeah,
get
I just want to meet
you don't want to
as much as people I can meet.
you don't want to get pigeonholed into the LA scene act. You want to
Yeah.
be bigger than that. Have you thought about maybe going global, or like foreign markets where your music?
Yeah, of course, of course. But I think it needs a little bit more time and financial resource. It takes more than that, so I'm gonna see what I am gonna be able to do in the next year.
Yeah,
But of course, that's the main goal.
yeah. Because you never know if you get invited to those big festivals. You know, like if you,
Yeah, definitely.
then those are always good opportunities at the European festivals for.
Yeah,
They seem to be
because
more into like new acts.
the goal is not like to be loved from a particular like group of people. It's like being able to be loved or being able to be able to connect with as many people as possible because it's music. Like it's the key. It's the
Yeah.
dream itself.
Because if you think
The
about
goal
like,
is.
yeah, if you think about like in England, the music audience in England, there's a show called Jules Holland, and on
Mm-hmm.
Holland
Yeah.
on the BBC, he plays multiple genres on the same show. There'll
Yeah.
be hip hop, there'll be rap, there'll be synth, there'll be rock,
That's perfect.
and so the BBC as a radio platform plays multiple genres on the same channel. And so what happens there in that market is if you're an indie act, you have a lot better chance of
That's
heard,
perfect.
getting
Yeah.
heard. You know, a lot of American bands have gone to England, and in
Mm-hmm.
America they weren't that big, but as soon as they go to the English market or European market, they get bigger reception, and then they come back and they kind of get a bounce. from that. And Hendrix did that. A lot of bands, even today, a lot of bands have done that. It seems kind of weird, but you have to leave to come back and then get bigger audience. That seems to happen a lot.
Yeah, that's also a version. But the thing is, like, the good part about like social media is like you don't really have to act like you're living in a certain place. Like, even though I live in LA, I don't have to act like I'm from or in LA, because I can just target my advertisements to wherever I want to do.
Yeah.
And it gives me the freedom to like meet whoever I want to meet through social media.
Yeah, your net presence is worldwide.
Yeah.
You could have fans like in Asia, in South Korea and Japan, and you might not even realize how many people are actually listening to you there. Until you look at your Spotify and you see where the listens are coming from. So it allows you to reach a very wide audience. Like the Ghost. I actually have a lot of fans like all over, not just in the U.S. I have a lot of fans outside the U.S. And they're into my kind of electronic music. And it's really interesting. I get to hear people in Israel listening to me, people in Syria listening to me. It's like it's all over. It's all over the map.
It feels very good.
Yeah.
To be able to be understood by a variety of cultures and populations. It's like the success like definition in my head.
Yeah, that's why I like it. Like I can see, like you don't want to get pigeonholed to just LA, and that's the way the world is. It's like you put your music out there, you'd be surprised if you got fans like all over the world listening to songs, and they go out on the different platforms like Fanburst and SoundCloud, and you can see where people are listening to you. You can see a very like wide range of fans like everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's very positive as an artist. Then you feel like, okay, well, people are getting me, like not just in my phone.
Getting the point.
Yeah, they're getting.
Yeah.
It doesn't measure of success doesn't have to be that the people in your hometown get you. It's just that somebody gets you somewhere.
Yeah, like that's the point of the whole thing, isn't it? Like, because you're not understood by the people around you, and then you make music so that you can reach out to the people who might actually understand.
Yeah, I think it's the people outside your hometown that probably understand you more.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I'll wind it down so I don't burn your phone out. But
it's in the fridge. Yeah, it's okay.
But yeah, so what we're gonna do is this will be a multiple segment podcast. We'll do a segment that actually has your Bad Poetry Spotify version, along with the version that we did on this show, and we'll send you the links. Everything's free. This will get pushed out to a bunch of podcast platforms, including Apple, and I think even Spotify has a version of podcast that this is supposed to get pushed out to. Radio Public, a lot of different podcasts. There's probably 7 different podcasting apps that this gets pushed to. And you'll be able to use the links on your social media. There's an embed links you can get right from Anchor that you can put onto your web pages, and it's all free. And I can give them to you as soon as they're made available. So I'll send them to you through our social media connection that we already have, and I look forward to talking to you again when you have your other projects ready to go.
Yeah, same here. Nice talk. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We love to talk and push any artist. So we would just talk to Buel for about over an hour. And you should check her out on Spotify. You should check her out on our own social media page. And we're going to have this podcast out within 24, 48 hours. And hope you listen to it and tell your friends about it. And listen to Buel Bad Poetry and the other projects that she has out there. Thank you very much for being on our show.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Good night.
Bye.